Hello and welcome to my presentation on My Ideology for Education by Bethany Hills, B1702159. I will explore the ideas and principles that I think should underpin our education today. Firstly, let's look at the definition of an ideology. An ideology is a set of beliefs or principles, said by the Cambridge Dictionary 2019. Now that we understand what an ideology is, let's look at some inspiration I got initially from some quotes. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world, said by Nelson Mandela. Margaret Mead stated children must be taught how to think, not what to think. I agree, definitely. And educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all, said by Aristotle. These quotes led to me developing my educational ideology that you'll see later on. My thoughts on the education system and what I would like it to be. I'd like it to be child-centred. I'd like no standardised tests. And a range of educational formats are also needed. Things to consider for an educational ideology then are the aims and purposes of the educational system, the organisation of the educational system, and the delivery of the education. This is stated by Bartlett and Burton 2016. Now that we can understand the considerations for an educational ideology, we can unpick all these three things in much more detail to understand what I would like the educational system to be. Firstly, the aims and purposes of education. Stated by the Department of Education in 2015, they state three purposes of education. It empowers young people to succeed in the economy, to participate in culture, and to leave school prepared for adult life. The three purposes stated, I believe, are fair. However, I don't completely agree with empowering young people to succeed in the economy. Completely understand the need to get a job after school. However, I think it's almost like the government are pushing us through education just to come out the other side and push us back into the system. I just don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's very child-centred. Therefore, my educational ideology, the aim and purpose of it, is a humanistic approach. A humanistic approach, defined by Maslow 1954, allows a person to develop to their full potential. This is supported by romanticistic ideology. Stated by Matheson in 2014, it originates from the naturalism of Rousseau, which encompasses the child's needs and their development as the main focus of education. This type of education focuses more on the process of education rather than the product, supported by Dear, Wolf and Richardson in 2004. This is also stated in Figure 5, down below. So Ken Robertson states education is not a mechanical system, it's a human system. It's about people. So the aims and purposes of my educational ideology is for a child to receive enjoyment, knowledge and growth throughout their life in education. These are the three key points that I believe underpin my ideology. This is supported by Moore's documentary called Where to Invade Next. He visits a Finnish school in Finland and sees how their educational system is run. The child is at the centre of their educational system and it runs very smoothly as they are at the top of the PISA charts for the last few years. So I believe that this is the key reason for why they achieve so well. This is in contrast to what Patterson has to say about South Korea that has also occurred at the top of the PISA charts for the past few years. Patterson discussed the South Korean school system where they study up to 12 hours a day and compared to Finland where they spend the least time in school. There is a risk for a lack of childhood for South Korean children. However, they both get the results, but I think it can be done with less hours and more enjoyment and less stress. I think this is the better option, and you can see it throughout Finland's school system. Next, I will look at the organisation of education. I believe an integration of different education systems are important. Mountney in 2008 states that not all children learn in an ideal way, that they won't fit the usual approach of our educational system. Mountney also goes on to say that today's society is very pressured in our educational system, and that is not what parents want for their child. Therefore, the need for different types of educational systems are great. Because of this, there is a greater need for a personalised curriculum. This is seen from Ofsted reports, when Ofsted have visited schools. They expect teachers to personalise their curriculum to all different variations of ability within their class to meet the needs of each child. However, I don't think there is a need for private schools and grammar schools. In Finland, shown in Moore's documentary, they have banished private schools and grammar schools, so all children have to learn together in the same educational system. This means there is no competition between schools. I believe this gives every child an equal opportunity. I also believe this will create more harmony and teamwork in the educational system. And I also hope it will eliminate the prejudiced view that the upper class only attend private schools. This integration of everyone from every walk of life, I hope will create a more settled environment where everyone can get along, as seen in the Finnish educational system. Next, I'll look at the delivery of education. Supported by Dufour and Curtis, I believe the teacher should be in partnership with the student. They shouldn't be the provider of knowledge, they should be the guider to help a child through the educational system. I also believe the creative subjects are just as important as the academic subjects. This is supported by Ken Robinson and also supported by Steiner. Steiner looked at creative elements such as play and using creative elements with the child at the centre, like the romanticistic, humanistic approach by Maslow and Matheson. My first point, I believe that education should be guided independent learning, supported by Montessori. The fundamental principle of pedagogy must be the freedom of the pupil, and the instruction of the teacher consists merely of a hint, a touch, enough to give a start to a child. Lastly, I would like to eliminate standardised tests. Hong Kong are used to working under pressure and receive great grades through this. However, I don't think the United Kingdom are set up this way and used to this culture of such pressure. I personally didn't cope well with a lot of pressure during my exams, and therefore think that they should be banished. And focus on my 3 main points for my educational ideology: the growth, the enjoyment, and the knowledge that children will gain. Lastly, I wanted to talk about my experience of a type of delivery throughout education. I worked in PGL. There's me! I think I was tired that day when that photo was taken, but there is me in my PGL uniform. When I worked at PGL, I really enjoyed it. Being outdoors and learning at the same time was a great experience, and to experience the children also learning and enjoying themselves was also a fab thing to see. Outdoor learning also encompasses a lot of reflective learning, so the children can reflect on what they have learnt so they remember it more. As you can see in figure 7, this is Kolb's model of the reflective practice. The enjoyment, the interaction with the environment, and the reflective practice that you get out of outdoor education, I believe are 3 key things that we should put into our educational system as well, on day-to-day lives that children can experience for definite. To sum up, my educational ideology is very humanistic based. I believe it is what is best for the child that should be the centre of my educational ideology and at the centre of today's educational system. And because each child is very different and complex, I believe that there should be a vast range of educational systems put in place, like the outdoor education, like the Steiner schools, like the Montessori schools, like even being educated at home. I believe it is what is ever best for that child and to meet the needs of their education, as long as they're getting enjoyment, knowledge and growth out of it. I believe that is a successful educational system, and here is my ideology. Thank you for listening. Here are the references I have used, and here are the images cited in the figures. I hope you enjoyed my presentation and understood why I'm so passionate about this educational ideology. Thank you and goodbye.